So let's go over a few tips to navigate your parenting plan during the summertime. The best thing to do is, first of all, let's just kind of give a brief overview of what a parenting plan is. The parenting plan is the order or the portion of the order that outlines each parent's rights, what time that the parent is going to have parenting time with the minor child or children, and what their rights are. It may even identify a notice requirement, and also it may change depending on the time frame. So for this particular discussion today, I want to talk about parenting time during the summer. And so this is an actual parenting plan order that one of my clients had finalized this week. And obviously it's redacted, so the client's information is not here. However, I just wanted to use it as a guide. So first, let's understand what a parenting plan order is. In the state of Georgia, there are rules that we consider uniform rules. So no matter what county you're in, the rules will still somewhat be the same. And under these uniform rules, there is a rule 24-10 or 24.10 that addresses a parenting plan. And that rule just kind of gives you a form of what a plan will look like. So if you are representing yourself, or if you were just preparing to speak with an attorney, you could look at that plan to see what the standard plan and language will look like. In that rule, it also states that this is a form that, and that the plan should be substantially in this format, but each plan should be tailored to fit each particular party's situation. And so that's what we do in our office. We create a plan that is specifically tailored to our clients' needs. So when we're talking about summer parenting time, the rules for summer parenting time will really depend on what's in the parenting plan. There are different variations of what a summer parenting schedule can look like. Like, for example, one parent may have the entire summer. They may have the child or children the entire summer. Where in another situation, you may have one parent that may always have the month of June, and another parent always having the month of July. Or in another situation, you may have dates alternating, where some parents have 2 back-to-back weeks in June and 2 back-to-back weeks in July. Or you may have a situation where a parent can identify which weeks they want throughout the summer, but they have to give notice. And usually that notice requirement is around April or May, depending on the year. And so I guess the first thing you want to do is know your plan. Know your plan, know what your obligations would be, whether it's your obligation during the even years or the odd years, and follow the plan. Now, the general rule is if the parties cannot agree, then the plan controls. So you really only want to use the plan or have to use the plan if you guys cannot agree to go outside of it. It may be sometimes that you may have a working relationship with the other parent and there is no need to go by the plan. But when, and just in case, there isn't a disagreement, then you go to the plan to make a decision. That's how it would be ideally. But most of the time, most people just stick to the plan. And if that's the case, you want to make sure that you, in advance, identify on your calendar what your deadlines are. Everything is electronic now, so you can actually just go to your phone. And if you have a notice requirement where you have to let the other person know, put that notice requirement or a reminder in your phone so it pops up until you complete that task. That way you don't forget it. But it's also important that if you have a notice requirement, that you make that notice according to the plan. If the plan says that you're supposed to use an app, which sometimes there is an app that is ordered in the parenting plan where the parties have to communicate through this app to work out custody. And if you have to use that app, then use the app. If the plan says that you can just put it in writing, then there are a lot of ways that you can do it. But obviously it could be text, email, would probably be the best ways. So you need to know what your notice requirement is, the method and manner in which you're supposed to provide notice. You want to try to follow that as much as possible. Also, you want to try to make plans for travel as soon as possible. Ideally, that may not be the case. There may be times where an opportunity to travel may come up, and it's a lot sooner than what you expected. And that's where co-parenting comes in. Usually, in my parenting plan orders, the desire to travel and that notice requirement is not a permission mandate. It specifically states, hey, the other parent is going to give notice of the itinerary and the travel arrangements. This is not a request or for permission to travel. This is just a heads up that we do plan on traveling, and that's super important because a lot of times when that particular clause is missing, the primary custodian may believe that they have the right to interfere with the other parent's desire to travel. One of the other things that I like to do is just make clear that a clear passport language in the parenting plans, because a lot of times, one parent party can interfere with the other party's desire to travel internationally. The reasons a lot of times don't have to do with the travel per se. It might just be that the other parent isn't happy that this parent is able to take the child out of the country, and they may not be able to do that, and so they use their power to say no, to interfere with that. Is it right? No. Does it happen? It does, a lot. And so just kind of going back to a parenting plan, you definitely want to make sure that it's tailored to address those issues, who holds on to the passport, when the passport needs to be provided to the other party for travel, and if they interfere with that, then we're talking about contempt and maybe having to pay for that trip if the trip is not, if the other party interferes with the trip and the child is not allowed to go, then that may be a contempt with a request for sanctions and as a consequence. But nevertheless, what's quite important when you are preparing for summer is to understand the document that governs you. And the advance notice, if your notice is in April, if you can get it out before, that's even better. Remember to provide an itinerary when you're traveling. Remember to put everything in writing, and remember to document as much as possible. And remember to follow the plan. If you find that when you're going through the plan, that the plan that you're living under no longer serves you all, and there needs to be changes, then it may need to be a consideration for a modification of that plan to address any new changes in anyone's lives that is now frustrating the plan that you're working under. And that's that.